Henry Hudson's Half Moon arrived in Albany in the summer of 1609, and the area was forever changed. About 13,000 years before Hudson's famous voyage, an animal, one of the last of its kind, died along an unknown river that would eventually bear the name of the famous navigator.
Mastodons like to live in a particular type of habitat in New York State. They like to have lived in a boreal forest. Glacial cycles have covered the state with ice, and the ice has retreated. So the sediments and the fossils that we have of Mastodon in New York are actually very recent.
Fast forward to 1866. The Harmony Mill Company along the banks of the Cohoes Falls was being built, and in a hole in the ground, there was a mastodon.
At first, just the jaw and a foot bone.
As the foundation to Mill Number 3 continued to be excavated, more and more bones were found. James Hall, the director of the New York State Museum of Natural History, was instrumental in its excavation and acquisition.
Hall went over and talked to the president of Harmony Mill Company, and they agreed that the museum would take that specimen over.
All told, the skeleton has been on display for over 150 years. It was accompanied by two friends, the Temple Hill skeleton and a furry replica, who for the last 40 years has been lording over the Cohoes Library. The mastodons didn't just sit around and look pretty, though. They've been telling us stories about their lives.
Looking specifically at the right jaw and at the left temple area, we know that this mastodon was in 2 separate fights throughout its life.
It was a death blow to the temple by a rival male's tusks that did him in. And speaking of temple,
both the Cohoes and the Temple Hill were dismantled and put into storage up in the collections.
The Cohoes skeleton was put back up in the 1990s, but the Temple Hill skeleton stayed hidden away. On the 3rd floor of the State Museum is an archival maze brimming with oddities from New York's past.
This is the zoology collections range. This has skeletons of mammals and skeletons of the Ice Age vertebrates. And in fact, this is the skeleton of the Temple Hill Mastodon, the mastodon that was on display with the Cohoes from the 1920s to about 1975.
The Cohoes Mastodon, though, still stands today, a reflection of the animal's strong history and stature. With the Albany Archives, I'm Matt Millett for Spectrum News.